Hello, today we will look at the use of renewable energy in one specific country, the focus on one specific country, that is Indonesia. In this slide, we will take a look at some areas that energy is used in our day to day life. So, the three categories are electricity and appliances, cooking and heating, and transportation. So, our appliances use energy in the form of electricity, such as TV, fridge, AC, lights, computers, etc. And for cooking and heating, we use fuels such as gas, LPG, wood, coal, etc. And for transportation, like local transportation, we use petrol or diesel for road vehicles, for our trains, planes, ships, etc. So while these are the three areas energy is used in, these are the primary sources of energy. For example, even though we use electricity, it may come from coal power plants or oil power plants. So in this case, if we look at what are the primary sources of energy for Indonesia, so we can see that their dependence on traditional energy sources such as coal, natural gas, and oil is pretty high. But interestingly, they also have a considerable section from renewables such as wind and solar, and also from biofuels and waste. They're also generating energy from these sources. Let me take a couple of minutes to look at Indonesia from the perspective of its geography, economy, and demographics. Why this is important is because based on where country or where the economy of a region is placed, so their energy consumption is in the same proportion. For example, large economies have a large consumption of energy. They have a huge requirement of energy to fuel their economy. So in this case, we can see that the GDP per capita of Indonesia is around $12,000, which is which neither places it as a very developed economy or a developing one. So it's somewhere in between. And this is the area of Indonesia. It's a pretty large country, and Indonesia is an archipelago with, as we can see, it's made up of many islands. So the count is around 18,000 islands. Although the primary islands are, for example, Sumatra, Java, and as you can see, interestingly, that although there are all these islands, Kalimantan, so although there are so many islands, most more than half, it's about 14 out of the 26 crores, or more than half of Java's population is in the islands of Java. So in this slide, we will see look at renewables. So we refer to this website called REN21. This website provides knowledge about the renewable energy sector. An important point about REN21 is that it publishes an annual renewables global status report. In 2018, global energy demand increased by 2.3%, greatest rise in a decade. So this was due to strong economic growth. So as you can see that there was a large economic growth, and therefore the energy demand was increased. And this energy demand, so due to a rise in fossil fuel consumption, CO2 emissions grew by an estimated 1.7% during the year. So although we know, well, the reason we are focusing on renewable energy and cleaner energy is to reduce carbon emissions, but in this case, as the economy was growing, actually our carbon emissions increased during that year. Although thankfully not in the same proportion as the economic growth. So according to REN 21 report, Indonesia has the third largest installed geothermal energy generating capacity in the world. So that's an interesting point. While a lot of renewable energy is based on solar and wind, these are the popular choices. But over here we see that Indonesia has one of the largest installed capacities of geothermal energy. And the reason for this is that, as we saw, that more than half of the population of Indonesia is in Java. That Java is actually a volcanic island, and it has about 48 active volcanoes. And it is this energy from the volcanoes that is harnessed to provide geothermal energy. Let us look at the Paris Accord. So now the Paris Accord is an agreement within the UN on climate change, dealing with greenhouse gas emissions mitigation, signed in 2016. And all countries of the world, or almost all countries, have come together to cooperate and have agreed on their quotas by which they will reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. So the Paris Accord, why is it doing this? It's doing this because the Paris Accord's long-term temperature goal is to keep the increase in global average temperature to well below 2%, 2 degrees, 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. So, as we know, the problem with greenhouse gas emissions is that it's causing global warming. So, by reducing, and global warming is what is causing climate change and creating an adverse environment for humans to survive. So, the Paris Accord is where everybody in the world is coming together to try and manage climate change by managing greenhouse gas emissions. So over here we've also got a pie chart which shows which countries mm, their global carbon dioxide emissions by jurisdictions. As we can see, China is more than a quarter, almost 30%. And the United States is also a big chunk. This is so these are the carbon dioxide emissions. So another interesting point also that we can point out for Indonesia is that Indonesia as a renewable transportation fuel, they're using palm oil. So it's the world's biggest palm oil producer of use as a renewable transportation fuel. So I've taken this example is because it seems good that it's a renewable energy source, but apparently global opinion is not in favor of palm oil because of deforestation concerns. So there's a picture over here showing huge tracts of land have been put to cultivation of palm oil and has resulted in deforestation. So this is a point of contention between Indonesia versus rest of the world vis-a-vis the use of palm oil. So thank you for listening so far, and what we've actually just tried to put across few points about what are the challenges and what are the solutions going on around reduction in greenhouse emissions and uses of renewable and using renewable energy to achieve those goals. So these are some of the references that I've used. Thank you so much for listening.